Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be talking about my thoughts after having played the final beta test of Naraka Bladepoint, an upcoming fighting slash martial arts melee focused battle royale game coming out pretty soon. It's actually in August. So I ended up playing the previous test, and then I played the final beta test. The demo is what they're calling it. And I think that there's some really cool stuff going on with this game. So there's going to be a question of how they deliver and what the game looks like in the final form. But if they can manage to deliver with a high quality product when the game comes out, or even just work towards that after 6 to 12 months of live patching, I think it's a pretty cool game to play with. It definitely has the fighting game elements that you'd expect. And then it also has some kind of different innovations on the battle royale combat that you wouldn't be expect to see. So today we're gonna go over my thoughts of the demo and the last beta test before release, and then yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So what is Naraka Bladepoint, for anyone who doesn't know? It is a game where it's a character-based game where you select a hero and then you go into a big map, and then there's concentric circles that shrink and force you into fight, just like a battle royale does. You have melee weapons and ranged weapons, but the combat is built around, at least the melee combat, is built around a rock, paper, scissors, or Rochambeau system. So you have 3 different attacks you can trigger with your melee. A white attack, which is a basic attack, a blue attack, which is a charged attack or a focus attack, and then a red attack, which is a counter. And they work in a circle like rock, paper, scissors, right? White gets beat by blue, so if you white attack into a blue attack, the blue attack will take priority and you'll get hit anyway. If you blue attack into a red attack, the red attack will win and take priority, and that's actually a counter. So if you counter a blue charge up attack, it will stun them, and then it will also disarm them. They drop their melee weapon if you land a red attack on it. So I think that part's really cool, and there's some gameplay that we'll get into that comes from that. And then a red attack loses, obviously, to a white attack to complete the circle. So if you throw up a counter, which only works against charged blue attacks, and you get white attacked into it, you will lose that. The range combat is pretty interesting. There's some very accurate weapons like the bow and the musket, which can do great damage with headshots. There are headshots in the game, and there's a wide variety. There's like a cannon that's up close and you get good damage out of it. A pistol, which functions more like a shotgun. There's a repeating crossbow, and then there's some really cool late game weapons like the swarm, which shoots a bunch of rockets and things like that. The melee combat into the ranged combat, there's a lot of options for ranged combat. You can climb trees and shoot at people from range and get some really good headshots. And I faced against some really good sniper style players that keep their distance and are really good at hitting shots. It can be a challenge. So there's definitely that part to it. But on top of that, you have your character's abilities, right? So you have the abilities, you have a basic ability that every character has, and then you're able to use an ultimate once it charges up. Every character has a different ability and ultimate. There's different things you can unlock with talents and things like that. But I think there's a good variety of abilities in the game. There are characters that can deflect projectiles. There's a healing character for squad-based play that can tether to someone like the old school TF2 medic, and then do teleports and things like that. There's instant counters. There's a transformation ultimate on the monk Tianhai, who can turn into a demon and grab people. And I actually really find once you get used to the combat, it can be very satisfying. So I think there's a lot of depth to the game as well. You can counter or you can cancel charge attacks by jumping, dashing, or crouching, so that you can start up a blue charge attack, and when someone goes to counter it by using a red, you can cancel it right before and then white attack them, right? So I think as people get really good at the game, there's going to be a lot of really cool and interesting moments to watch, especially for a viewing experience that makes the game fun and interesting. My biggest gripe with the gameplay from this beta test and the last one is that it is very server correction heavy. And you'll see some of this online on feedback on the game, but there are times where you get stuck in some really awful server corrections where like you're trying to move and you're getting warped back. It's a server correction. Your client is moving outside of what the server allows you to do, and so the server will forcibly correct your position back to where you were, because the server in all multiplayer games, you want it to be server authoritarian, or authoritative, where the server is always right. That way people can't cheat by changing their client. but I think it's a little bit too egregious in this test. Now, granted, this could just be a stress test, and so by release in August, maybe they get the net code and the lag compensation to a point where it feels a lot more acceptable at multiplayer level, right? Where like there's going to be lag, obviously, when people have different pings and different interactions, but it's not like you're just warping around a lot. And then my other gripe is with the traversal, which is by default very fun. You're able to grapple. You have a grappling hook. You can go to grapple to people. You can grapple to surfaces. You can climb trees. You can wall run. You can mantle up onto ledges. You can stick to ceilings and wait people out. You can wall run in and then land and slide. So like the movement is really cool and really fast. But same thing there. There's just a lot of where it feels like you're fighting with it, right? Where you mantle on something that you're not really even close to. You end up grabbing the wall when you don't mean to, and you're tripping over things a lot, right? So I think my major complaints about the game in this final beta demo state is that it's just performance and lag compensation, which are very fixable issues, and honestly, things you'd expect to see in a stress test like a final beta. So, you know, it's just up to the team now to see if they can kind of clean it up for final release, and then they've got themselves a really cool game. I think that as you go higher in skill level, the game will change a lot, right? Like, there's not that many people that I see canceling charge attacks in my games. And sometimes I can't even get it to work right when I try to do it myself. So you try to like cancel a blue attack into a white attack into a counter. The fact that the counter disarms you is super punishing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I'd have to play the game a lot more to get a sense of whether that is worth it or not, right? Because like you can charge up a blue attack, and there are certain weapons where you do a basic white combo into a blue attack if you keep your combo going, and people know that, right? So they'll eat the white attacks, and then when you go for the charge up attack, they counter you, drop your weapon, and you go. But I think that there's gameplay that goes around that, and that's why I don't know what my opinion is yet. Because you have these weapons in your main and offhand, but you also have a weapon inventory. Like you can hold up to, I think, 4 more weapons besides the 2 that you're carrying. So I think that what they're trying to do is encourage people to not only have a way to break out of combos if they time it right, but also encourage you to have multiple weapons and multiple things you can use. So if you get disarmed from a counter and a melee attack, you just swap to a new weapon because you planned for that. Or maybe you just swap to your offhand and you have 2 melee. Right, there's a lot of options there, and I think I would have to put more hours into the game to figure out what my opinion is on the countering. It's nice to have something punishing that works that way, but sometimes, you know, either just through server correction or some weirdness on the beta, you get your melee weapon dropped, and then all of a sudden you just get stuck. But you know, at first glance, people come in and they start spamming the red attacks to try and counter the blues. But obviously, you can feint a blue attack and attack them. Or you can grapple them or use abilities and things like that. So I think overall the game is stunning. The animations look really clean. The modeling looks really good. The textures are clean. I like the soundtrack and the scoring. The sound effects are also really good. The sound spatialization isn't perfect, but it works. You can hear where people are. It looks like they've put in some logic to detect when people are outside your range and you really shouldn't be hearing them, but you still get a little bit of a footstep. And I think the reason they do that is in most battle royales, you can hear people shooting their gun from far away. And I think they want to replicate that with louder footsteps and weapon sounds that travel further than they should, just so the game feels alive and you can see where people are. You can see there on screen, there's that snake monster up in the sky, which is the circle, but you can also actually buy what are called earth charms, and which is like an airstrike basically, and put that down. I've seen people get kills. There's quests in the game that allow you to move around the map and find different objectives. See that guy trying to spam red on me. And then you can also get bounties, which I have a bounty for this person right now, where you can look at the red on the attack, like, and so see the attack going in there. I'm kind of just watching the combat with you right now. And it's cool, man. Like the environment and the variety you get makes it feel really interesting. And when it works well, it's a fun and interesting game. And I think fighting game players are really going to enjoy it a lot. Also, on top of that, the consumables seem interesting. The inventory management is not too much in your face, but it does feel like it's rewarding, and you do want to kind of move into the inventory as often as possible. There is also a quote-unquote ammo mechanic. All weapons have durability. If you, and then includes ranged weapons. If the durability on a melee weapon goes down to 0, it won't become useless. It just does less damage. And then on the ranged weapons, when they lose durability, they have no shots left. So you have to collect these weapon kits that repair your weapons and repair your ranged weapons, which really just gives them, ammo. So it's just kind of like a garbage collection system that forces you to have to constantly loot, so that you're always getting more repairs. You're getting your weapons repaired, or you have to loot more weapons to get that done. So there's some really cool stuff that comes out of that. But I think that overall the game feels really good. If they can clean up the polish and make the performance and the server correction and lag compensation better, it's really fun. And I'm actually really looking forward to it coming out and seeing kind of how things work. And there's definitely a lot of moments in the game where I was just kind of blown away by, being able to move and traverse through some really fast areas. And it definitely makes you feel like you're in that kind of Eastern Chinese style action movie, right? You climb up trees, you perch on top, you can snipe people, and you can get some really cool combos. The squad combat is fun, being able to use the abilities together. And some of the characters just have these nutso abilities. And you can actually get on these crossbows too and two-shot people. So there's like environmental things you can use. So it's got good stuff going on. So we'll just have to see how the release goes. But I'm curious to hear what you think. Like, what works for you about Naraka Bladepoint? Have you played the betas or the demo? What experience have you had? Have you had kind of some performance issues? I know there's been some performance issues that they've been working through. I think this is their first title, 24 Entertainment. So like you don't have the as many people. They don't have like the lessons learned on predicting performance issues before they happen if you're a newer studio, just because there's just a processing that comes from that. But I think this game's awesome. The cosmetics look really cool too. You can also customize your character individually, and then there's leaderboards where you can show up with your character as they're customized, which is really cool. Here's the shop that you can find in game, which allows you to buy upgrades. And actually, we haven't even talked about the Soul Jades yet. So the Soul Jades are a passive element that you pick up during the game, and they actually have some pretty drastic changes to the way you play. You can get basic stats like health or added resist, which is like armor, to ranged attacks or melee attacks. But there's also higher ones that give really interesting passives. So there's like a Soul Jade that makes it so your footsteps are silent. There are ones for every weapon that change it. So like this one right here, I have one that makes my downward slash for the spear have 2 slashes instead of 1. You can make it so the katana extends its range. So, the ability to modify how the weapons work in a fighting style environment, like fighting game style environment, is really interesting because it means that people can't predict what you do as easily, and you can kind of change up how that plays. There's even ones where like you can roll while repairing and you become invulnerable while rolling. You have iframes. The question I have is, because there's so many Soul Jades and it's random how you get them, is that something that people are going to want to build specifically for a character or an idea they have? That's kind of like the age-old question with battle royales, right? How much do you have random versus how much do you have controllable by the player? And since this game is very random, right, you can just get a whole bunch of Soul Jades, but you can collect coins and go to the shop and buy random Soul Jades and maybe get the ones you want. I don't know. Like, there's definitely some questions around, like, is that going to feel good over time or not? I don't think we can really know right now until the game has a couple months into it after release to really see how that feels. There are some talent trees outside the game that you customize as you bring in, and all of them just really give you more energy to roll, more energy to so you recover energy faster, you can roll with less energy cost, and things like that. So like, it's just kind of helping you. This is a free chest and like an airdrop. So you come here, everything's free. You can just buy whatever you want. So if you miss consumables, or you need a specific weapon, or you missed armor along the way, you can just buy these at these airdrops. Just be careful. Like, a lot of times you see people do the Earth Charm strike from above on top of those gold chests, which is pretty obvious, but I've seen people get kills with it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I had a lot of fun with the demo and the previous beta, and I'm just really excited to see this come out and see if 24 can kind of really clean up. I mean, like, in the top right corner, you can see that I have 50 MS. Assuming that's accurate, that could be, one of those fake pings, or it's just not using the correct MS that you'd want to see. It's like a different value for it. But if that's correct and I have 50 MS, then most of the issues then are either server side, or they're just around like netcode and software, right? Just being able to handle laggy situations in a way that feels good. right? Having lag compensation that kind of predicts with your movement, or it just needs, maybe they need to replicate more often, or who knows what goes on there. It's impossible to know from the outside. But I think that if they can smooth that out, the combat's fun. The idea is unique enough to kind of be a new entry in the battle royale genre. And I think there's some really cool stuff that come out of it. Let me see if I can get, I'm just watching a video with you guys right now. Let's see if we can get to like some combat, right? So there's like one of the characters that has a teleport and a heal. You get some really cool dashes, and then you get some, you know, the third partying feels fair because a lot of times it's melee, sometimes it's ranged, but see the blue goes into the white and then you get a gold attack on your combo. I'm like juggling someone in the air here, and they both die. So there's some cool stuff, man. It's a good game. It's good. It's just laggy, you know? That's how I feel, okay? Just, you know, just that's the video. That's the video. All right? I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you in the next one.